CEO's wedding night takes shocking turn when he discovers his bride's true identity. The ballroom shimmered with gold and crystal, laughter floating above the clink of champagne glasses. Chandeliers sparkled like stars overhead, and violins played a gentle waltz as the most anticipated wedding of the year unfolded in Manhattan's elite circles. Ethan Royce, the 36-year-old CEO of Royce Innovations, a man who had built an empire from scratch, stood at the center of it all, a picture of calm perfection in a black tailored tuxedo. Billionaire, philanthropist, business genius, and now husband. Beside him stood Ava Sinclair, the woman everyone called mysterious, graceful, and devastatingly beautiful. With raven black hair swept into a classic chignon and eyes like storm clouds, she had enchanted New York society the moment she appeared by Ethan's side 6 months ago. No one knew where she came from, only that Ethan had fallen hard and fast. Some called it a whirlwind romance. Others whispered it was too fast, too secret. But tonight, under the soft glow of candlelight and camera flashes, they were pronounced husband and wife. Ethan kissed her. Her lips trembled, but not from emotion, and no one noticed. After the last dance, after the last toast, the couple retreated to the penthouse suite atop the Royce Tower, a wedding gift Ethan had renovated himself. Ava walked in first, quiet and graceful, her fingers lightly grazing the marble counter, as if memorizing the place. He followed behind, removing his cufflinks, smiling at her like the future was finally within reach. "Champagne?" he offered, walking to the bar. She nodded but didn't speak. He poured 2 glasses, then paused. "You've barely said a word since the reception ended." Ava turned to face him, her voice soft. "I just can't believe it's real, that I'm your wife now." "You are," Ethan said, stepping closer. "And from this day forward, everything I have is yours." Her fingers curled around the glass. "Everything?" "Everything." There was a pause. Then Ava slowly took a folded piece of paper from the clutch she'd carried all night. "I need to show you something," she said, her tone unreadable. Ethan's brow furrowed, but he took the paper. His eyes moved over the text. A birth certificate. His hands tightened around the page as he read the name at the top. Ava Carter. Not Sinclair. His breath caught, and the parents' names. One of them was Joseph Carter. It felt like the air left the room. His voice turned to ice. "Is this a joke?" "No," she whispered. "It's the truth. You said your father died when you were a child. You never mentioned the Carters." "Because I knew you'd hate me," she replied, her voice trembling. "Because I'm the daughter of the man who ruined your father's company 20 years ago." Ethan dropped the paper like it burned. He remembered. Everyone did. Joseph Carter, the disgraced former CFO who had been imprisoned for embezzling millions from Royce Sr.'s company, forcing Ethan's family to sell everything. His father never recovered, died broke, died bitter. And now Ethan had just married his daughter. His heart thundered in his chest. "You planned this?" "No," she cried. "I never planned to fall in love with you. I just wanted to see who you really were, to understand the man my father hated, and then I—" "You lied to me," he snapped. "You let me marry you." "I tried to tell you so many times," she whispered. "But the more I loved you, the more I couldn't. I thought I could outrun the past. I was wrong." He stared at her like she was a stranger. The wedding night was supposed to be the beginning. But it had already become a battleground, and neither of them knew if love could survive what came next. The silence in the penthouse suite stretched longer than the Manhattan skyline outside its floor-to-ceiling windows. Ava stood frozen near the fireplace, her wedding gown pooling like a ghost around her feet. Ethan still held the crumpled birth certificate in one hand, his wedding band glinting cruelly under the chandelier's light. "You played me," he said, voice low, like thunder before the storm. "You played everyone." "No, Ethan," she pleaded, stepping toward him. "I swear on my life, I didn't come into this with a plan. I didn't even know who you were when I met you." "Don't lie to me again," he snapped, his blue eyes narrowing. "Everyone in this city knows my name. You expect me to believe it was just a coincidence?" Ava swallowed hard. "My father never spoke about your family. I grew up thinking he was innocent, that he was set up. It wasn't until I started working for that nonprofit." "The Literacy Fund?" Ethan cut in. "That's where we met." "Yes, I found an old ledger there, with my father's handwriting all over it. It proved everything. The embezzlement, the accounts, the lies. It shattered everything I thought I knew." Ethan stared at her, his mind racing. "And instead of walking away, you came closer." "I wanted to understand the truth, to face it, to make sure I wasn't like him." He laughed bitterly. "Well, mission accomplished, because if he was a liar, you're a masterpiece." Ava flinched. The clock ticked. Somewhere down below, New York's nightlife pulsed on, unaware that in the city's tallest tower, a marriage was already cracking. "I was going to tell you before the wedding," Ava said, her voice barely a whisper. "I tried, 100 times. But every time I looked at you, I saw the man who brought light back into my life. I didn't want to lose that." Ethan moved to the bar, poured himself a full glass of whiskey, and downed it in one breath. Then another. "You should leave." Her breath hitched. "Ethan." "You should leave," he repeated coldly, not turning around. "Before I say something I'll regret." She didn't move at first. Then, slowly, she turned, gathered her train, and walked to the door, her heels clicking against the marble, echoing like funeral bells in the cavernous suite. But as her hand touched the handle, Ethan spoke again. His voice was quieter this time, tighter. "Did he send you?" Ava stopped, hand trembling on the doorknob. "What?" "Your father," Ethan said. "Joseph Carter. Is he still in prison?" A pause. "No," she said. "He was released 2 years ago." Ethan's jaw clenched. "I haven't spoken to him since the day he got out," she added quickly. "I changed my name, moved across the country. He doesn't even know I'm here." Ethan turned slowly, his expression unreadable. "But he will, once this makes headlines." "I'm not going to the press," she said. "I'm not here to destroy you, Ethan. I love you." A silence fell between them, heavy with things unspoken. Ethan looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time since the confession. There was no victory in her eyes, no calculation, just pain, fear, regret. But could love exist where trust had died? He didn't know. "I need time," he said at last. Ava nodded, blinking back tears. "I'll stay at the Essex Hotel, just a few blocks down." She opened the door, hesitated, then looked back. "I never wanted your empire," she said softly. "Just your heart." And then she was gone. Ethan stood alone in the suite, built for two. The champagne flutes untouched, the wedding cake untouched. His life, suddenly untouched by everything he thought he understood. And outside, for the first time that night, it began to rain. Rain lashed against the windows of the Essex Hotel, like nature itself was trying to drown Ava's thoughts. She sat curled on the edge of a velvet armchair, still wearing her wedding dress, now wrinkled and heavy with silence. Her veil lay discarded across the floor like a flag of surrender. Across the room, her phone vibrated for the 3rd time. She ignored it. The world could wait. The headlines would come eventually. If not now, then tomorrow, or the day after. She wasn't naive. Marrying Ethan Blackwood was never going to be something she could keep in the shadows. But what haunted her most wasn't the press, or even Ethan's fury. It was the man who had once taught her how to lie. Joseph Carter. Her father. She hadn't seen him in 2 years, not since the day he walked out of prison and told her with no shame at all, "Everything they accused me of? I did it, but don't worry, I did it for us." She had walked away from him that day, changed her name, changed her life. But he was still out there, and if Ethan's instincts were right, if her father somehow knew about the wedding, then her nightmare wasn't over. The phone buzzed again. This time a text from an unknown number. "Congratulations, sweetheart. You made it all the way to the top." "I'm proud, Dad." Her breath caught. He knew. Ava stood up, her hands trembling, and paced. She couldn't let him poison this any more than he already had. Ethan might hate her right now, but he deserved to know the truth. The whole truth. Even the part she'd buried deep. Just as she was about to call him, there was a knock at the door. Ava froze. It was past midnight. She opened the door an inch. Ethan stood there, drenched. His dress shirt clung to his chest. His tie was gone. His eyes were bloodshot but steady. "I couldn't sleep," he said. She stepped aside without a word. He entered slowly, taking in the untouched room, the discarded veil, the ghost of what their wedding night should have been. "I've been up all night," he said, running a hand through his wet hair. "Looking through my father's files. Everything he kept on your dad." Ava's eyes widened. "You still have those?" "I never deleted anything," he said. "I wanted to understand the man who ruined mine, but what I found tonight? There are gaps, things that don't make sense." He pulled a folder from under his coat and dropped it on the coffee table. Ava picked it up. Inside were photos, ledger entries, surveillance shots, most of them stamped with dates from 15 years ago. One document stood out. A wire transfer traced back to a hidden account. But the account holder wasn't Joseph Carter. It was Charles Blackwood, Ethan's own father. Her lips parted in shock. "What is this?" "My father was funding your dad," Ethan said quietly. "They weren't enemies. They were partners." Ava staggered back as if slapped. "I thought he betrayed us," Ethan continued. "Thought he robbed my family blind. But what if he was just the fall guy?" Ava stared at him, heart pounding. "You think your father set him up?" Ethan nodded grimly. "Or they set it up together, and mine made sure only one of them went to prison." Silence hung like smoke between them. For so long, their story had been simple. Her father the criminal, his the victim. But if that wasn't true, if the roots ran deeper, then everything they believed about each other was wrapped in a lie neither of them told. Ethan sat down heavily. "I don't know what to believe anymore." Ava joined him. "Then maybe we figure it out together." He looked at her for a long moment. "I don't forgive you. Not yet," he said. "But I believe you didn't do this to hurt me." She nodded slowly. "That's enough for now." He leaned back, his voice barely above a whisper. "We just got married in front of 500 people, and I think we're only now meeting for the first time." She gave a half smile. "Nice to finally meet you, Mr. Blackwood." Thunder rumbled in the distance. The night outside remained soaked in questions, but for the first time, they weren't running from them. Together, they turned to the folder. Two broken legacies colliding, searching for the truth buried in a past neither of them chose. Because maybe their wedding night hadn't been a beginning. Maybe it was a reckoning. The days that followed felt like navigating through fog. Each step into the past revealing things Ethan and Ava were never meant to see. They stayed at the Essex Hotel, no longer newlyweds basking in luxury, but investigators holed up in a gilded prison, tethered by secrets instead of love. The silence between them wasn't bitter anymore. It was dense. Not avoidance, but anticipation. As if both knew they were approaching something irreversible. By the third morning, Ava had mapped out the timeline. Ethan had gathered contacts, former employees of both his father and hers. The story that took shape was nothing like the public narrative. Not a clean betrayal. Not black and white. It was dirtier. In the early 2000s, Joseph Carter had been a mid-level financial broker, known for skirting risk. Charles Blackwood, Ethan's father, had been bleeding money into a secret investment ring that profited off false bankruptcies. Joseph had been his front. The operation unraveled when federal agents caught wind, but instead of going down together, Charles bought his freedom with Joseph's life. And Joseph never talked. Ethan sat across from Ava, the documents spread out between them. "Your father didn't just take the fall," he said. "He protected mine. Protected me." Ava exhaled shakily. "And I hated your family for it." For years, Ethan leaned forward, voice low. "You didn't know." "I should have," she whispered. "I should have told you everything before we got married, given you the chance to walk away." He reached for a photo on the table, one of the two men smiling on a yacht dated just 6 months before Joseph's arrest. "I didn't marry you because I needed answers, Ava. I married you because—" He stopped, looked away. "Because," she prompted gently. "Because I saw something in you I hadn't seen in anyone since my mom died," he said. "You looked at me like I wasn't a CEO, like I was a man worth believing in." She blinked back tears. "I never wanted this," she said. "Not to hurt you. Not to dig up old pain. I just wanted a clean start." Ethan gave a sad smile. "Turns out there's no such thing." The truth changed everything. Yet it also made certain things clearer. That night they left the hotel together, hand in hand. They drove north to an address Ethan had found, an old property once owned by the Blackwoods, now abandoned. Overgrown ivy snaked up the brick. The door creaked like it remembered them. Inside, buried beneath decades of dust and deception, they found a safe. The combination came easily to Ethan, his father's birthday. Inside were letters, old ones, from Joseph to Charles. In one, Joseph had written, "I kept your secrets because I owed you, but I won't let my daughter live in their shadow. If anything happens to me, promise me you'll let her be free of this." Ethan's voice trembled as he read the words aloud. "He tried to protect you." Ava nodded, unable to speak. They burned the letters in the fireplace. Not out of shame, but to release the past, to sever the final thread tying them to men who never deserved their loyalty. That night, they stayed in the old house. No designer sheets, no champagne, just an air mattress and each other. And for the first time since the wedding, Ava reached for Ethan's hand, not out of guilt or fear, but out of choice. "I don't know how to fix us," she whispered. "Maybe we don't fix it," he replied. "Maybe we start from here, with truth this time." She nodded. And under the faded roof of a legacy built on lies, they made vows no one else would ever hear. No more pretending, no more silence, no more running from who they were or what they wanted to become. Together. Epilogue. 1 year later, Ava stood beside Ethan at a press conference announcing the Blackwood Foundation's new scholarship program for children of incarcerated parents. The reporters, as expected, asked about their unusual love story, about how they survived betrayal, deception, and scandal. Ethan simply looked at his wife and said, "Our wedding wasn't the beginning. It was the test. The real beginning came when we stopped trying to hide from each other and chose to fight forward." And Ava, heart steady, added, "Sometimes the greatest love stories don't begin with truth. They're built from it. because in the end, it wasn't the ceremony, the gown, or the kiss that defined their marriage. It was the fire they walked through, and the decision to walk through it together. If this story moved you, share it with someone who still believes in second chances, even when they come dressed in secrets.